When I was little, I watched this movie called Polar Express, and while I was watching it, I noticed a lot of mistakes they made about the facts about the locomotive. For one thing, close to the beginning of the movie, when the kid was talking about what type of locomotive it was, he said it was a Baldwin Type 284 Berkshire locomotive, but this is actually the exact same type of locomotive used in the movie, and it's a Lima Type 284 Berkshire. I don't think the Baldwin company ever made this type of locomotive, but this is definitely from the Lima Locomotive Works, so that was one fact he got wrong. Which makes me wonder how many other facts he got wrong, like when he was talking about the tractive effort and all that. Also, I really don't like the main character of this movie because I really hated how when the guy was talking to him about what type of train it was, he actually basically ignored him partway into the sentence. I really hate when people do that. Of course, I think it's really rude. However, I was told as a child that I shouldn't talk about trains to people who aren't train fans because they're not interested, so maybe he was in the wrong as well. Also, I hate when I'm watching a movie and the people in the movie get facts wrong. I don't see how people can sit through a movie and watch all the facts being misstated and actually just ignore it. Another mistake they made was in the movie, the fireman actually hand shovels the coal into the locomotive. But a locomotive this big cannot be hand shoveled because a human would not be able to keep up with it, with its needs. Instead, for a locomotive this large, and I actually watched this on an old documentary about steam locomotives. Locomotives this large are fed by a worm screw. As the locomotive is moving, a series of gears turns a worm screw that continuously feeds coal into the locomotive from the tender. That's how this locomotive would have been fed in real life. Now that I think about it, that scene when they were fighting, when they were fighting over which lever was the brake, he said the red lever looked like a brake, but apparently it wasn't. However, this looks like the exact same lever he was referring to, and according to this game, it is the train brake lever. I think the lever she was talking about was this lever. This is the independent brake lever. Both of them are... Actually, I don't think you would be using the independent lever when pulling a train, though. Another thing I noticed was they actually had to jump between the passenger cars because there was a complete lack of vestibules, but these types of passenger cars look very similar to the ones used in the movie, and they clearly have vestibules, so they should have been able to walk between the cars normally. Also, that scene when they accidentally decouple the observation car from the rest of the train, there are two things wrong with that scene. One, the coupler lever is not so easily accessible that you could simply trip over it while getting onto the train. I'm pretty sure the designers of these passenger cars were a lot smarter than that. I'm pretty sure they would not make it so that it was that easy to decouple a train. Plus, I saw a decoupling lever being used, and it wasn't pushed down, it was pulled up in order to release the coupler. Another problem was when the passenger car moves away from the train, the lights go out. But this is a steam locomotive, and steam locomotives do not provide electricity for passenger cars. So technically there shouldn't be lights in the train at all. However, some steam-driven passenger trains get electricity from a generator, basically the same way cabooses get their energy. Basically what happens is the wheels turn the generator, and the generator provides electricity. So even when decoupled from this locomotive, the generator should have still been running, and they still should have had electricity. Another problem is I noticed that the locomotive in the movie actually bends a lot when going around curves, but I don't think this locomotive, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think this locomotive is big enough to be articulated. After all, the largest non-articulated locomotive was a 412 two-wheel arrangement. However, just to make sure, I'm going to run this locomotive around that curve and see if it bends as if it was articulated. However, I noticed the passenger cars bent a lot when going around curves too, so that could have just been an animation error. It sounds just like the locomotive in the movie, doesn't it? It actually sounds kind of scary, kind of like a monster. Well, I don't see it bending, so I guess it isn't articulated. You know what, while I'm at it, let's see how fast this locomotive can go. This locomotive seems to reach a top speed of 78 miles per hour. Okay, I think I want to stop it now. Which one of these levers should I use? Maybe I should use this one because it's red. What type of crazy idealism is that? Imagine if you tried to use that kind of idealism to stop a car. Maybe I should use this button. It should be the brake because it's red. Oh, that's just the temperature up button for the thermostat. Besides, this isn't the only red lever on this locomotive. What about this one and this one and this one and this one and this one, which is the throttle? Imagine if you tried to use this one to stop the train. That would be very bad. Seriously, what logic was he using when he came to the conclusion that everything red is automatically a brake lever? Also, that scene when they were changing the headlight, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think steam locomotives have electric headlights. Don't they use oil lamps? Or if they did use electric lights, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be using an ordinary light bulb. It would have to be something stronger like a halogen lamp, right? Well, that's all. That's everything I can think of for now.